Don't be so nervous. You feel nervous?
A little bit.
Why?
It's
It's
my
just
first
me.
podcast.
I know, but you've listened to millions,
Yeah.
hundreds.
Maybe it's half nervous, half excited.
Okay, let's go with the excited half.
Yeah.
Because I can't handle you having a meltdown.
No, a meltdown I won't have. There's no way.
So, this is your chance to pontificate. Would you like that?
Sure.
Good. We were talking last week, and I'm like, this is so good. We should just record our conversation. It's a little arrogant of me to think that we're so cool. Other people would want to hear what we said to each other. But it was good because you're a young guy. You're young. How old are you again?
27.
And there was like maybe not a light bulb moment, but like a maturing of your senses.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the last maybe, 4 or 5 years in the last 4 or 5 years, I've really started to mature, realize new things, maybe, become more efficient in the way I handle situations, right? More mature, whether it's relationships, things at work, organizing things like hockey teams or stuff like that. And I think it's some pretty good info that maybe someone listening can take some of it and apply to their lives.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us what the problem was before? Because we've talked. I've kind of said to you that maybe people don't go at your speed.
Yeah, that's a big one.
A big source of your frustration is like, no one's getting what I get. What I get.
So I would say the biggest issue before was, like you said, I was just moving too fast. My expectations were very high of other people. And when I started to realize that, everybody's got their own way of doing things. Everyone moves at their own pace, got their own interests and beliefs, and not everyone's going to line up with yours. So it's really important to focus on, what you can do to, I guess, maybe help them. There's a good quote I like is help me help you. Right? So maybe you could, focus on stuff like that and just understand like not everybody's the same and accept things and people for who they are and work together to progress rather than maybe getting mad at them if they're moving a little bit slower or sometimes too fast.
Yeah. So there's two ideas there. There's one, not allowing other people's shortcomings to bother you. And then there's like, maybe hidden in there is like this idea that you want to help people, which I strongly discourage people from.
That's tough.
Why? Are you an expert in child psychology or human psychology?
By no means, but I think there's a fine line between wanting to or maybe helping somebody with just giving them advice for what if you've been down the same path before, as opposed to or compared to acting like an expert in it. So as long as you can keep that fine line and keep the balance and not being so maybe demanding or controlling, then maybe it's beneficial.
I would rather lead by example.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah,
I just changed your thought process.
Well, maybe it's a little bit of both.
Okay, like who would you help? Hypodermically speaking, who would you help?
What do you mean? Just like in everyday life? Who would I help?
Everyone, anyone?
I would help my brothers. I'd help anybody who needs help.
Yeah, but how much, like, what gives you the right to want to, like, they're going to be like, who are you?
Well, maybe my past experiences.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's good for you. Let me
lessons.
learn from my own experience.
Well, that's true. Well, so that's what the struggle was before. I was, I guess, too controlling or too demanding or too, hey, this is what I experienced, so it might fit your experience right now 100%. And what I've come to learn is that wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Did you ever make a mistake?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah? Did anyone try to stop you?
I would say no. Most cases, no. Maybe they've given me some advice to steer away from it, but at the end of the day, they didn't grab me and hold me back.
Why do you think that was? Was it something about you that, like, maybe people think,
Yeah.
He'll figure it out. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Maybe we don't have to save him from himself.
I think that's it. And I think it was also a little bit of, he's not going to listen to us anyway.
So they already kind of knew the outcome.
Yeah.
Would you do the opposite on purpose?
There was times.
Yeah. So then now you're this mature guru and you want to dictate to everybody.
No, I don't want to dictate anybody.
So what's different now?
You know what? I think my approach now is different. I think it's more in line with what you're suggesting. It's more of, you've got to go figure it out yourself. I'll suggest, give you some advice. Here's what I think. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to do whatever you feel is required. I'll give you an example. There is a new hire at work that he's worked with a couple PMs. And our manager likes to move him around so he gets a feel.
People are going to listen to this, eh? You're not putting yourself in...
By no means, no.
Okay.
No. So now he's been working with me.
Okay.
And...
don't say his name.
No, I won't.
Or your company.
There's so much information that I want to give him. I could talk to him all day about the certain jobs he's going to see.
He'll quit. He doesn't want to listen to you talk.
This is what I have to keep
reminding
reminding myself.
Just do your own thing. Leave me alone.
Yeah. He's supposed to be shadowing.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of guide him.
Yeah, you're his shadow.
Well,
you're on his back.
He knows a lot.
Why? Because he learned from you?
No. Because just naturally he knows what's going on.
So what's your deal? You think you're an expert on everything?
I used to.
You used to think that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily say an expert on everything. Like, I don't want to sound like I was very arrogant.
It sounds a little bit like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to steer away from that.
I think that's why you're here. Because now it's like, I don't need to feel like that. I don't have to micromanage.
Right.
Okay. So now what? What is it? What's the secret?
What I've come to learn?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you just got to let it go. You just got to let it go.
Did you watch Frozen?
I've seen clips of Frozen.
Was that Anna and Elsa taught you that?
Yeah,
I guess so deep. What are you, Olaf?
No, I guess I've seen enough clips to understand what that movie's about. But you know what? It's interesting because I think that's what made our paths cross, right? Because my mentality back then was causing a lot of stress and anxiety on my body, which caused some gut issues, which brought me in to see you.
Sure.
And I think that was when I was maybe 16 or something.
Yeah, you were a weak guy.
Yeah. And I'm not too sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's how our relationship started. So although there's maybe these negative or, I don't know, struggles in the past, there's always a bright side.
So funny. So I think where we want to go is like your own self-discovery of like, instead of trying to fix other people or being frustrated with other people's shortcomings, you're like, let me work on my own excellence.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's that like? What has that been about?
Okay, so this is really interesting. It all started when COVID came about, because in 2020, when I had more time to myself, more, nights spent alone, couldn't go anywhere, anything like that. Those moments gave me opportunity to do a lot of self-reflection. I was always on Amazon looking for new books, self-help books, self-improvement books, to read, right? To learn through there. And
were you a reader before that?
No, not at all.
So now you just, in your idle time, I got to learn how to read and read these books.
Yeah. The first book I read was about setting up your finances with very basic stuff like opening up certain savings accounts, stuff like that, to kind of manage your money and collect interest.
Yeah, a lot of people, they went finance, stocks, crypto during COVID because of you're at home, man. You got the computer in front of you, just going on social media. Yeah,
that's a road I took.
Yeah, I remember I was talking about crypto and all that stuff.
The money is it's still in there because there was no need to take it out since it kind of went down.
Yeah, it's probably you probably don't want to
No, it's still there.
It's going to
still
go
there.
up. It's going to go up. It's going to go up. Promise. I promise.
I think this year things have kind of
This is the
leveled
year.
out.
Yeah, I think we're on the upswing.
I hope so,
Yeah.
because I'm going to need that money soon. Yeah.
And did
But,
you get a book on loans?
No, I haven't dabbled in that topic yet.
No, you might have to. This crypto stuff doesn't turn around.
Well,
So anyways, so you started focusing on financial stuff, and you making yourself a little bit more self-sustainable,
yeah,
which is nice. That's an
Yeah.
independence
right.
and maturing.
Yeah, I always felt like I kind of had that characteristic of being independent. Growing up, I wasn't always concerned with how other people did things. I always kind of did things the way I felt that they were, fit for me, without stepping outside of boundaries, right? So yeah, through the financial stuff, then I started getting into books on, say, self-discipline, how to stay motivated. There was one, I think the guy's name was Jim Quick, and his book was how to be smarter, how to get smarter, how to use your brain more to its full capacity.
Okay.
He's got great tips and
What was his take-home message? Make it quick.
you know what? I read it 3
Get
years
it?
ago, but I can't really remember. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe I didn't read it well then.
Maybe
I
you
can't remember.
read it too quickly.
Yeah. There's a lot of tips and tricks on how to think quicker, how to remember things, stuff like that.
What was his name again?
I think it was Jim Quick was his name.
I'm starting to think it's just Jim, and maybe the quick thing is in a hurry.
I was filling in
Jim
the blank.
super fast.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Limitless was the book name.
I wonder where they got the name from.
Is that Brad Pitt? No, that was
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. Started with a B.
You're killing me. So now financial independence, self-discipline.
Yeah.
And then what?
Well,
I feel like I'm dragging you through the woods.
what I've come to realize is if you want anything or anyone to change, it's you're going to be the one that's got to change, right? Your perspective, your actions toward them, the way you handle situations and respond to situations, it's what's going to dictate whether or not you're happy or sad in any situation that was making you upset.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the biggest realization for me. Since I've realized that, I've noticed my relationships with siblings have improved, my parents, friends, like anything. It's all different now. It's kind of like, even at work, there's a lot of, because I'm in the construction industry, there's a lot of sign-offs that you have to take care of, and a lot of people are hesitant to do that. And you just got to give them your advice, your experience, your recommendations. Then at the end of the day, it's up to them. I used to go home and think, wow, that person, I can't believe they didn't want to go ahead with this. Like, I don't know what to, like, I just can't believe it, and stuff like that. And it would just, all those negative thoughts would just ruin my day, ruin my like, it was all, I was always going toward those like just responding that way. And it was,
You were taking things personally.
yeah, I was taking things very personally.
And then you're taking them home.
Yes.
And then it would poison your thoughts and your actions afterwards. So now you can drop it. Now you're like, okay, no, it's no. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. I've got to say, God bless my mother for listening to me complain all these years about all kinds of dumb things.
Okay, sure. We'll add her to the call afterward.
Yeah, she's done quite a bit of
What was
listening.
did she give you advice? She's like, why
Of
take
course.
it? What did she say?
She would tell me, don't take it personally. It is what it is. She would say, Chris, you got to remember, these people have their own lives going on. Like, you just met them for an hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it was. You got to take a step back.
Is that a weird feeling? Like, where this idea, like, the world's a lot bigger than us. Like, it could be clear cut and straightforward for you and I, but like, people don't see things the way we see them. Maybe they didn't grow up the way we did.
Right. Is it a weird feeling? Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, when you start to realize that, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I would hear growing up, like, you guys live in a bubble here, this area. Like, you guys don't know what reality is. And then when you start going, whether it's higher education or the work force and you start seeing different ways of life, different thought processes, you just see like things are not like exactly how the progression of like, this person said, yes, I'm not going to do this. And I promise. And then you realize promises are not real.
Right.
Like until it's like in your hands, it's not real.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was eye-opening for you as a young man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But then what about being disappointed with the people in your life? Personal frustration.
Yeah. You know what? I come from a family of, there's 5 of us kids. So everyone's got their own opinion, their own way of doing things. And, we all work different jobs, right? We're not all experiencing the same thing. So when we come home, when we all used to live together, now a few have moved out, but, everyone's attitude come dinner time is different. And although you might be having a good day and joking about stuff, maybe your brother isn't, and maybe you push his buttons too much, and then he starts to react a certain way and stuff like that. So
you're the instigator.
Not always, Jason, not always, but it could be vice versa. Maybe I had a bad day and they're trying to poke me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't think that happened very often. I have a feeling that it was mainly the provoker.
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess so. But now you're a new man.
Yeah. You know what? It was, although COVID was a dark time, and, it was...
for you? It was okay for me.
Well, I mean, there was just so much going on the news and so much.
Yes, dude, it was terrible. The world sucked.
It was lots, right? But there's always a bright side. And fortunately for me, I wasn't affected. I was in good health. So I made it through it without any scares.
So maybe it was a good time for you because it afforded you the time to look within.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And there was a lot. So fishing is one of my biggest hobbies.
Oh.
I love to fish. And
I hate it.
Do you?
I hate it. The whole idea.
What kind of fishing? There's so many different types. I mean, when you went fishing, were you on a boat? Were you on fishing a river?
No, I just avoided the whole topic. I had never been on I'm not a fisher.
Okay, fair enough.
Man.
But whenever I would
But
go
you
fishing,
love it.
Yeah. It's funny because when I first started it, I hated it.
Why? What did you hate about it?
So
cold, dark.
Yeah, it was cold. Me and my dad would go fishing in April.
Early.
But up in Collingwood, it was still -5, -10 degrees in April. End
Terrible.
of April. So yeah, it was
Aren't
cold,
the fish already frozen?
early. No, the rivers were thawed out. Yeah, the fish weren't frozen. They were very energetic come that time.
And so now, but what did you like about it?
Well, I just kept going. Each year I kept going. We would typically only go once a year. So every time that year came around again, I would kind of forget about my bad experience, how I was freezing and it was so early and your line would get tangled. You got to retie it, but you can't feel your fingers. So you struggle. But I just kept going and slowly, I just started to find so much peace in it. There's so much peace.
I guess in that solitude and that quiet, because you have to be quiet.
Yeah.
And what would you think about?
Oh, man, I'd think about anything. I would think about...
your day. A problem.
My day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You would actually put thought to situations and you aren't distracted by social media. You don't have time to hold the fishing rod and be on your phone at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're focusing on what you're doing and you're also thinking about, anything that's going on. Maybe you have a struggle at work and now you have time to put thought toward it. You have time to take a step back while you're fishing. So it brought a lot of solutions. I was able to come up with solutions or different ideas because in this downtime or, fishing time, you just think of new ways, new ideas pop in your mind. It's strange. It's hard to explain, but
I usually tell people you need a hobby. You need something that's like your escape. So this is yours, which is nice.
Yeah.
Someone's like, I work out, and every time someone says, I say no, it's not an escape. It's not a hobby.
Why
It could
don't
be a
you think so?
pastime. What's that?
Why don't you think so? Working out.
Most people who work out, they're doing it because they feel like they have to. And or even if they want to because they want to accomplish something. So it's a job. There's an element of work to it.
Fair enough.
You're not fishing for survival.
No.
If you were fishing because you didn't have food and you're like, I need to catch a certain amount of fish for my family, you wouldn't be having these deep thoughts.
I agree.
Because you'd be out there with your line in the water, and if you didn't get a nibble, you'd be like, oh, that sucks. And you go home and your food's ready because your mom made it.
Yeah.
Here, like
right.
in this other scenario, it's like you go home, you don't have any food. Everyone's starving. So there's a difference because now this is your hobby. You're doing it for fun. Hobbies are something you got to do for fun. Preferably something that you can have an escape where your mind just empties. I play video games. I say I play video. I actually know I do play video games, but it's almost like a distraction because I'll like listen to podcasts or videos or whatever in the background. So it's not like I'm actively or whatever. I'm just like, it's something that almost doesn't need my attention.
Right.
It's like driving.
Right.
I mean, you should be paying attention when you drive, though.
Yeah.
That's a bad example. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, but people go for a drive. Now, I get that idea. When they're like, just go for about an hour. Like, where are you going? Just driving.
North.
Yeah, well, usually you have
Just
to
keep
go
going
north,
north.
and you can't keep going until you got to come back south eventually.
Yeah, that's true.
But or people, they go on their bike, their like motorcycle, right?
Yeah.
Some people bicycle, I guess, but on a motorcycle, and they're like, that's my escape. That's where I disappear.
Well, what would you say about running, jogging?
Some people do that. I just feel like it's kind of edging towards that exercise where it's a toll on the body. Like a hobby or downtime it shouldn't be more work than you expend during the work week.
Okay.
Because there's a fatiguing and injury risk and all that. Like,
right.
If you told me like I took a train somewhere, I'm like, okay, well, you took a train. You didn't think, you didn't have to drive.
Right.
So
You just sat
and thought.
Yeah, sat and thought. You know what? I think that's a very important. Just thinking.
Well, and so without sounding like scary, if someone just stares off, like it's almost like we have to justify by having a vehicle for it. It's like, I'm doing this. I went to the library to read, but really I'm just like contemplating. I went fishing. I went somewhere to contemplate. It's almost like we're using something to envelop the true concept of what we want. It's like, I just need a break to shut off my brain.
Yeah. I agree with that. I would just say that during COVID was the complete opposite because that's when there were so many nights I was just lying in my bed at like 8 p.m. staring at the ceiling just thinking.
That's scary.
It wasn't really scary.
Well, it's scary.
I wouldn't. Why do you think it's scary?
Someone's at 8 o'clock at night staring at my ceiling in my bed. Worried
No,
about
it wasn't. It wasn't. The lights were on. It wasn't dark.
Really? The lights were on?
Yeah, you're just thinking, what's going on? What's next?
Okay.
No?
I don't disagree.
What was I supposed to do? There's nothing else I could have done.
Oh, I'm sure there was housework to be done.
Yeah, probably.
But it's okay. Let mom do it. It's fine. Then where else? Because there's other things we talked about. We talked about social media and how it's maybe defining or changing how people think. People are looking towards, I guess, examples or trying to find a role model, and they're few and far between, if any.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going online to find role models, there are a few names that you're going to come across, especially as a young man my age.
And why do you think those common dudes, without having to go into specifics, why do you think they come up? Do you think they come up because they have something of importance they need to share? Do you think they're just promoted?
I would say that they do have something important that they need to share, which is gathering views, and maybe with the algorithm, that's what's showing them more often.
But why is that algorithm like picking them up? What's so special about them?
Maybe it's the way they speak. Maybe it's their charisma. Maybe it's their confidence levels. Maybe it's the material goods they have.
Yeah.
Right? It's I think most young men are into or would enjoy seeing Ferraris, McLarens, fancy cars, big houses, stuff like that. Being a fighter, maybe.
These are the things you like.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of specific. I'm like, oh, okay.
If the viewers haven't tuned into maybe who I'm referring to.
You can just say it.
What's that?
Just say it.
Yeah. Andrew Tate's the biggest one right now. He's the biggest one, and he's a very delicate and tricky topic because he does say a lot of things that are aggressive and perhaps egotistical. But then there's also things he says that promotes young men to be confident, fit, not.
Well, what is, because I don't really listen to him. I mean, I know who he is, but what does he say about that? What does he say about, like, what does he tell young guys?
He encourages young men to be, to think for themselves, or at least make opinions based on, make their own opinions based on, the information that's given to them, plus some other research and stuff like that. Don't just listen to one thing.
Sure.
Right? But he encourages young men to go to the gym, to be physically fit, because then he believes that if you're, a strong body's a strong mind.
Do you disagree or agree?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with when he talks about making money, to support a family, to support anybody really, like close family, not just immediate family. He wants you to be the best version of yourself, to be confident, show respect to people.
So, I mean, this doesn't sound like anything bad.
Yeah.
What are the things that people take offense to?
It's a lot of the things he's said in the past. Now, look, I'm not here to defend the guy. There's a lot that I think, if you were talking to him on the phone, if you heard him say this on the phone, you might do one of those. Like, did you just say that? You know what I mean? So, there maybe his opinions in the past were
like misogynist.
They tend to lead that way. Look,
I guess it's kind of hard because if you're gonna take the opposing view, like we have a culture that's very, I guess the goal is equality, but sometimes it seems like it's trying to find its middle. It's like a pendulum that's kind of swinging back and forth, and maybe it leans one way, and then sometimes other topics it leans another. I guess these guys, they want to have like the loudest, most stark opinion as in order to like actually pull and have some gravity and attention their way. So it's almost like they have to be extreme. Yeah. Which I guess, yeah. Because
there are a lot of other guys that I are on social media, specifically YouTube. There's a guy, Bedros Keuilian, Andrew Facilla. They're more low key. They're not as outspoken as he is.
Yeah.
But they still promote mainly the positives that Andrew Tate talks about. They only talk about that.
Okay, so what do you feel like are what are the traits that he's highlighted? So you said strong body, strong mind.
Yeah.
The idea of like being a provider, forming your own opinions.
Yeah. Being a hard worker, being reliable, being respectful. Those are common themes around his messages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are not bad things.
No, I don't think so. But you know what? A lot of his words are taken out of context. A lot of clips are taken out of context. So I can see where that goes downhill. And maybe some of that stuff's true. Like maybe it's taken out of context, but if you do expand on it, watch the full version, I don't know, maybe it wasn't really taken out of context. I'm not sure, but I think it's important to pick and choose or to demonstrate what you believe in, what resonates with you.
Okay, so what resonates with you?
Exactly those things, being respectful, hard worker,
Were reliable. You not those things before?
You know what? I think in my mind I was, but my actions were proving otherwise.
Why? What were your actions?
It's just it was a lot of frustration, a lot of anger when just other people's actions and thoughts didn't align with mine. Okay, so maybe
your focal point was like external as opposed to internal.
Absolutely.
So You changed that perspective. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's so ironic. I already said this, but if you want something to change, you're going to be the one that has to change.
Okay, you got an example?
It's insane. Yeah. Say there's times where, I mean, I can keep this very generic. I don't want to.
Yeah, don't give us your pin.
Yeah. Okay. Say there's a friend that has these common habits of maybe doing something in public that upsets you. Very generic. You can stop putting yourself in those situations. Maybe it's you and him or her. And I don't know, when there's other certain people around, or maybe if you're at social events, it seems to go in a way that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
Maybe the way they act or something. Maybe it's a little bit you too. Well, you can avoid those situations.
By?
Don't go anymore. Or invite other friends to dilute it.
Wow, that's very... I thought you were going to say just confront them, be like, hey, why do you do that?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. You can do that too. But I mean, okay, so
let's go with my stuff.
Yeah, no, I skipped the part here. There was one situation where I did confront somebody and say, hey,
how did that go?
It was tough.
Yeah.
And you know what? I confronted them.
You were upset.
You
were upset when you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to practice.
Yeah, that was...
That's hard, eh? Practicing not getting mad.
It's so difficult.
Because we train ourselves that our normal response becomes anger.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be.
How crazy is that? Why does it have to?
Because it's probably based on like prior experience and previous frustrations that have not been resolved. If your cup of anger is like very full and you haven't emptied it, and you got a tray of emotions, the cup that's the fullest is the one that spills first.
Right.
Wow. Trademark it.
There's so much. It just seems like everything is, I wouldn't say backwards, but it just doesn't happen the way you'd think it would. Like,
what do you mean?
A lot of when you confront, a lot of times, I think a lot of people would agree with this, but when you confront someone about something that might be upsetting you, it happens when you're upset. You don't really think about it or remember to do it when the time has passed.
We want to avoid conflict, and so why? It's like everything's fine. Be like, I don't like you stepped on my white shoes the other day. I was like, I did? Yeah, and then you bring them out, and there's still a footprint on it.
Yeah, and you check their soul
and
to make
see
sure.
this exact model. See, no, when you bring up stuff, it's usually because you're mad from the last 10 times you didn't say something, and then you reached the boiling point. Now I'm letting you have it.
But is that the way to do it?
Is it a bad way? It can be.
I think
it depends. What maybe dictates it is if you lose your cool.
Yeah.
If you don't compose yourself and you act emotional, you're just gonna sound like a whiner.
But that's tough too, because in those moments, it's so difficult to keep your cool and stay composed when you're upset. Controlling your emotions is not easy.
Do you not think in your thoughts, like in your planning beforehand, and because it's not the first time you would have thought about this problem, because it seems like it's a repetitive thing.
Yeah.
Didn't you play through a scenario?
Of course.
And he says this and you say this and he replies and you know how to reply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typically the scenarios in my head are worse than reality.
Almost all the time.
Isn't it funny how your brain can just keep going on and picking out the worst situations?
Yeah. Why do you think it does that?
Because you're angry.
Yeah.
It's the emotions.
And you like the anger.
Me?
Well, in general. Maybe not you. I don't know. People get high on anger.
Yeah, I agree.
And they have this scenario, this blow up, and it's like a big fight. So you get high on the anger.
Yeah.
That's not good.
It's tricky. It's tricky to manage.
But now, with these gurus and these dudes, some of them have this edge, like this agitation. But I mean, I don't know if it's just like a permanent thing. I don't know if it's because they feel like they were being unauthentic in the past, or that they got pushed to the point where they had to start like portraying this excessive bravado or this double alpha male attitude. Because they all kind of seem like a little roid rage.
Yeah.
But like, do you have to? Do you think you have to have that, like, that threat of intimidation all the time? Because I don't like it. I feel like I see through it. Like when someone, like people who come in, like guys that come in and they want to work on their health, the ones that are like, they act like they're going to leap across the desk, I kind of like, I'm laughing. I'm like, can you be in public? Do you function?
So I think that for them, perhaps they don't get challenged enough. Maybe they don't take, Andrew Tate does a ton of interviews, but there are some other people who have their own podcast and are, you know, spitting their own facts or saying whatever they want to say. Is there anyone really challenging them? Is there anyone sitting like you are across from each other, like we are across from each other, and, you know, telling them, hey, I don't agree with that. So maybe it starts to build up more and more and more. And
I don't know about that. I mean, maybe they have like a thought. And I think most people have feelings that are contrary to like the standard narrative, like kind of like you don't talk about certain things at a dinner party in mixed company or whatever the saying is. But then when you start having those beliefs and thoughts and you start voicing them with people of like mind, you get a little bit of a momentum, a little bit of a maybe false confidence, maybe real confidence when you talk. And then if you reach the critical mass of being popular on social media and people start asking you for interviews, and maybe there's a little bit of a showmanship that goes into it. Now you start upping the ante and be like, not only do I think this, but also that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
And so maybe they invite some of the criticism because I think they still are putting on a show.
Yeah, I think they're putting on a show, but I also think that the way that they, like, just their characteristics or personalities, it aligns with that show, like those characteristics, because they're
a caricature of a intelligent bully. Someone that kind of is like, I'm smart, but I'll also attack you if I have to.
Okay, well, that's interesting because since I've been doing a lot of boxing classes...
Watch out.
Pardon?
I said watch out.
Oh. Well, what I've come to learn in combat sports, all the different types of martial arts and fighting, the mentality on, I would say, most of those students and coaches, anyone in that world, is if you push my buttons, you're gonna see the repercussions. Like something physical might happen. We might take this outside if it comes to that. If there's any altercations or stuff like that, like I've been finding that a lot of people in the space are ready for that.
So let me ask you about that. And before you said most of the things that we think about are like worst case scenario, like we blow things up in our minds.
Yes.
For these students, your colleagues in your martial arts or your boxing, how many times are they there because they are afraid of the threat of being bullied or attacked? I don't know if it's a genuine attack. If someone really feels like they're going to be attacked or harmed, I don't think they start training boxing. I think they would seek police.
Maybe I described it wrong.
No, I'm not. I don't think you did.
I don't mean that they're looking for trouble.
No, I don't think that either.
But in the back of their mind, they are ready to defend themselves rather than attack, maybe.
How many of those people do you think are going to be actually in a scenario where they need to use it? A fraction?
I can only speak for myself. I don't know. A lot of the guys...
How many fights have you been in your life?
0.
Perfect. Good answer. A lot of people have been in some fights. I find that there's people most people are in 0 fights. There's a small percentage of people that are in 1, and then there's a large percentage of people that have been like in 20 or 30. Do you know what that means? They're looking for a fight.
Yeah. So to that point, I think the loudest guy in the room is typically the weakest.
Interesting.
Like, say you're
because Andrew Tate would be the weakest because he sounds like the loudest.
No, That's a good question. I wouldn't say so, because I think that in that setting, when you're on the podcast with him or interviews, you know what you're getting. You know what you're going to be talking about.
Okay.
So that's just how he gets his point across, perhaps. I'm saying, like, if you're in, I don't know, at a restaurant, maybe not a restaurant, but a bar or a club, those are easy situations. The guy who's always pushing for the fight, he tends to be the weakest one, the guy who's the loudest.
I don't disagree. I would add the element of it's probably someone that has gotten away with their behavior for a long time. Meaning, if I'm going to be loud somewhere, if I'm going to be a nuisance, if I'm going to be critical, if I'm going to be outlandish, I'm doing it because I have the confidence to do it. Maybe not necessarily the confidence in knowing I'm correct, but the confidence in knowing that I can get away with it.
Yeah, I do see that.
I guess I'm suggesting a false confidence based on a trait.
You mean the loudest person's got a false confidence?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they don't feel a consequence to their actions.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's that's sort of like what I wanted to flesh out, was the concept of a consequence. Like, because you can say whatever you want, you can even do whatever you want, but there's a consequence to it. And if you don't perceive it, or you don't think you're subject to a consequence, you're more likely to be outlandish and raise the element or the level to something to the point where you're probably going to get attacked.
Yeah. So to that point, then, earlier you were saying that maybe you don't always need to be this alpha male kind of person.
Another caricature.
Yeah.
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like someone walks in, they're like this, and then someone comes in and they're like this. Eventually, there's nowhere else to go. How many, what's happening? People watch National Geographic a couple times and they think they know how the animal kingdom works.
No, I agree with that. And I also think that it relates to, those loudest people. It's a false confidence. And
how would you address someone? What if you're at a party and someone's loud, like really loud, really obnoxious, kind of like almost like disrespecting several people?
If it gets personal, if they start picking on me or a buddy or, anyone that's close to you, then I would do something. But if it's just, they're just loud, say I got invited to a party and people know who the guy is, I'm not going to say nothing. You know what I mean? Like, big deal.
Yeah, what if it becomes personal? Like, if it becomes personal. When you say, Chris, what's with this beige top? You match the wall.
You know what? I think that it's tricky. If it's something that's harmless, like if
there's a little bit of harm? I'll be like, I don't like people with beige shirts. You see what happened to the last guy that wore a beige shirt?
I don't know, man. I think that I would just brush it off. Like, I'm not looking for any trouble. I'm not looking for no problems.
Yeah.
If he offends me or something, if it's something harmless, like the color of my shirt, big deal, man. Maybe you can make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Okay, but that's good.
I'm not gonna.
You don't. That's not the first. Imagine that was the first option.
Yeah.
Someone doesn't like the color of my shirt. Punch him in the mouth. Beige. You don't touch beige. Huh?
I don't care what he thinks about my shirt.
Okay.
No problem, pal.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I don't know. I feel like it's all depends on what your previous experiences was. Because what if your whole life you were made fun of for your shirt color, let's just say, and then just this random new dummy you never met before just says the wrong thing at the wrong time. Because really what he's doing, he's kind of like pushing you down.
Yeah.
He's kind of belittling you so that he feels better about himself.
So sure, if your past experience, you've been bullied for that and now he's picking on it again, then I think that many people would maybe fight the guy, whether it's verbally or physically. I think things would be different. And that's probably how a lot of fights start.
Probably.
Poking the bear, right?
Yeah.
Bringing up past experiences, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that it's important that you got to be in a position where if you want to fight someone that's loud like that, you better have some skill. You better have some knowledge in fighting. Otherwise, you might just embarrass yourself. If you want to take that route, because you can always walk away. Maybe your maturity level has changed and you're like, you know what? I don't care about this anymore.
What about if the boxing or the training of any kind, what if that just helps you, in the back of your mind, your confidence? It's not an issue of like, I know what to do if I have to. Right. It's more like, I just feel strong. Yeah. I feel like I'm not walking in naive or limp. Maybe I got a little bit of, and maybe people will see that, and either that will kind of deter some of that bullying or whatever, or it might actually bring it on sometimes.
Right. I think that with combat sports, it really does bring a lot of confidence in people, and I think that's the route they're going to take. They know what they can do, so they're not necessarily going to be the ones running their mouths, or if they're being attacked, then they're likely going to be calm and cool, because what comes with the combat sports is also discipline, hard work, reliability, all that stuff, some characteristics that will help you control your emotions. Sure.
This is true. I like it.
Yeah. I think that's what's so important about that stuff. Like Bruce Lee's got that famous quote, be water. You got to be adaptable. Water can flow or water can crash. That's so powerful. That's so powerful.
You like that, eh?
Yeah. Very much so.
Okay. Did you ever watch him growing up?
No.
You ever watch him now?
No.
You ever watched a Bruce Lee movie?
I've seen that interview and that was about it.
That's it?
That's it.
Gee.
I just got into the combat stuff recently. The last 5 months.
You'd be the first person I'd look up.
Yeah, I agree. I should.
Yeah, his movies, they're a little bit dated, but I mean, I think they were the foundation for a lot of like martial arts like that have movies that, and even like the practice of it in North America. He really did fast forward it and make it like a more amenable to our culture. So his movies are like, there's an appreciation for them because it's like, it's him. Yeah. And because he died so young, and there's some really, really old kind of crummy, like it's dated. But then there was like the ones that made his legend. There's something that you could enjoy out of it. And he was diminutive, he was small, and he would kind of be overlooked in some ways, but until you saw him in his practice, because he was so disciplined and exceptional in what he did that he actually evolved it.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's really cool how he could do that, where you might look past him, but then when you see him in his practice, then you're amazed.
I think that's something that maybe people, young men, young women, they could learn, is that like, you don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the strongest per se. It's not a weightlifting competition.
Yeah.
But if you have a skill or an ability that you can excel at, your level of esteem, like, it's crazy high.
Absolutely.
Because it's things that the average person can't do. Like, and just like, if someone can sing, if someone is artistic, someone has a trait that stands out, and they actually like utilize it, or they hone it, or they kind of perfect it. There's something that like people that just like, it changes people's perceptions of you.
And I think a big part of that, of people showing those skills, is other people, peers, anyone close to them, just treating others with respect, so they're able to feel comfortable enough where they can tell you they have maybe play the trumpet, or they're really good at artwork or something like that.
Of all the examples, Bruce Lee and be like, hey, guess what I can do?
Well, there was a comedian that was really, she knew how to play the trumpet. She's part of Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee's gang there.
What's her name?
No, not you're thinking Rudy. Yeah,
No, not Rudy.
Juicy, Juicy.
Yeah. Her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was on Kill Tony.
What's that?
Dude.
Kill Tony?
Okay, so Juicy, whatever her name is.
Yeah, she's got all kinds of nicknames.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's a comedian and stuff, but she would sometimes play on Tony Hinchcliffe's podcast in the band.
Oh.
He's one of the most popular live podcasts. I've watched hundreds of his episodes. Dude, you don't know?
I didn't know. No.
Kill Tony? No,
No.
It's a fantastic.
I apologize. I should know.
No, that's okay, because like they're kind of somewhat interconnected. They have Juicy as sort of like she floats in between the two shows, and
I had no idea.
Yeah, no. So it's actually I'm glad you brought it up, because before they moved to Austin, they were in LA, and they had a band there that were like more so like based on like comedians. Jeremiah Watkins and this other guy. There's a few other people, and so Juicy would sometimes be like, they would have the band come out and they would always be dressed up in character, and they had to stay in character the whole show. So the show was based on, it's a live mic.
Okay.
So they would pull names of like mostly amateur comedians. So, and then they have a minute, do their best, and then they would get destroyed or commended or questioned by the panel. So it's like kind of like they're sort of an offshoot of like Joe Rogan's crew and all this stuff. So,
right.
Anyways, it's just funny that you brought that up. But like, okay, the idea that you have a skill set, that is like a rarity, something that's special, that sets you apart, and you can draw confidence from knowing that you have this extracurricular thing,
right?
And that's why a lot of parents, they put their kids in extracurriculars, because if they can excel at like dance or soccer, it doesn't take away from their schooling, or it makes them a little bit more well-rounded. They know how to interact. They know how to time manage. They have this extra, opportunity that is rewarding for them.
Yeah, exactly.
They learn how to lose. They learn how to like sportsmanship and stuff like that.
Some of my best friends right now, I met it in hockey.
Yeah.
Outside of school. So, I definitely agree.
Do you find that your hockey friends don't mingle well with your other friends?
In the early days, yes.
Yeah.
Now it's pretty much narrowed down to, our group's been together for so long, so everyone's mingling. But in the past it was different.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd agree with that.
Okay. And then you cracked open your Bible.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am by no means an expert.
You're not the Pope.
In religion. I'm not the Pope. But
there
has been some realizations that I've made that's really helped me and improved me as a young man to see the beauty in other humans, nature, just the wonders of really anything. For example, when I'm fishing, there's been so many breathtaking moments where there's a few river spots I know that are in the middle of nowhere. No one else is around, and you don't hear traffic. You don't hear construction vehicles. Nothing's going on except for nature. And there's been so many times where I just stop and stare, and it's just like, it's very difficult to not believe that a bigger force, a God, has created this perfect scenery right here. And I'm only seeing a certain part of it. The river goes on for kilometers.
Yeah.
So there's more of it. But that's all you need, is just what's in front of you, to stop and stare and say, wow, this is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm in those moments, I often feel just like, I don't know, free.
Peace?
Yeah, peace and free. And it's funny, the other day I was reading through the book of Psalms, and in there was a passage that said, you lead me to, it was something along the lines of, you lead me to open fields, you lead me to rivers, and my soul is restored.
Isn't that Psalm?
I'm pretty sure it's Psalms.
23?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Is that popular?
You're so cute.
I thought I discovered
it's like saying, I read this passage from the Bible in the beginning.
No, I'm just saying I can relate to it.
No, that's good. Of course, that's wonderful.
Because then when I read it, I'm like, holy, I didn't read it first, then go there and try to force myself to feel that.
No. But like, there's a reason that's the most popular. Like, it's like, and it called out to you, which is good, because
I didn't know that was. Now I kind of feel dumb. I didn't find anything.
I don't want you to feel dumb. I want you to be happy that you read that and it doesn't change anything.
It restored my faith. It increased my faith.
That's so funny.
Something I want to mention too.
Okay.
Talking about these gurus. I think that mentors and role models have played such an important role in my life growing up. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, Jason, you're on that list.
How big is this list?
It's very small.
Oh, that's good.
It's very small. What I've come to realize, a benefit of following the Catholic faith, religion, whatever the proper terminology is here.
You're butchering it. That's okay.
Oh, man, so I'm telling you, I got a lot of work to do.
No, you're fine.
But when you go through the sacraments, baptism, minus communion, and confirmation, through baptism, you have godparents, and confirmation, you have someone who confirms you.
Yeah.
These are people that are brought into your life that are almost forced to be a role model or a mentor to you.
That's an interesting choice of words.
Okay, so there have been plenty of times where I'm like, you know what? I need someone to talk to who's outside of my parents or outside of my brothers. And oftentimes I would remember, hey, my cousin is the one who confirmed me. We automatically have a relationship, this tie between us that I don't have with any of my other cousins. So it's kind of like you automatically have these people in your lives who are set up to be a role model or to give you advice and to guide you.
This is true.
And I think it's so important to continue this tradition or to continue this like these sacraments for my kids, for example. I'm for sure going to have them baptized and go through communion and confirmation. Because although besides strengthening their relationships with Jesus and God, it also puts these people in positions to help them grow up.
Okay.
Have someone to fall back on.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool and so important to have.
It's a nice element that a lot of people overlook and they don't think about, and sometimes maybe they don't take advantage of.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm doing a podcast this week with my sponsor.
Cool.
I sponsored my cousin when he got confirmed, and yeah, we have a closer bond.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
I know that's what you meant. That's why I said it.
No, it's really cool. When I realized that, I'm like, wow, that's pretty special. Whether you believe in it or not.
Well, don't ruin it by saying, sometimes. Yes, you believe it.
Oh, I do.
And you
100%.
act on it, and it reveals itself.
You're right. That's something I got to work on.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
Yeah, stop being so wishy-washy.
I know it's very.
It's all
strange.
that fishing you do.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's important. I think religion is very important. Even just to have faith in something, to believe in something.
Sure.
When your back's against the wall, you can always turn to God. Yeah. Always just talk to someone, pray to someone.
And what does that do?
Gives you confidence.
Yeah.
It reestablishes some trust and some faith that no matter what happens, I know God has got my back.
That's nice.
No matter how bad things get, God's there for me.
I like
available.
I can't top that.
Yeah. It's and you know what too? I've started to see God more on a day-to-day basis. The more I started to basically, I don't know how to word this. The more I started to realize the positive and say the beauty in life, the more I started to see God. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's very eloquent. I like it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I encourage anybody to just open up your mind. If you're closed off or concerned, you're not sure, just give it a chance. He's not going to do nothing bad to you. He's not going to turn you down. He's there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good man. I think we're done.
Right on.
It wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad. It was an excellent experience, actually.
We'll do it again.
Sure. I'd love to.
Perfect.